I can tell you one thing. Technology is the single most important aspect of every business that has successfully scaled.
It's time for that Real Estate Tech Guy. It's your weekly chance to explore how technology can help your real estate business explode. Each week, you'll hear from real estate investors who have been there and done that and find out their favorite technology tips. Listen in as Jordan speaks with tech companies and learns about new technologies and new ideas that will help you scale your business. And now, join your host, Jordan Samuel Fleming, CEO of Smartphone, for this week's episode.
Hey, it's Jordan with another episode of That Real Estate Tech Guy. I am delighted that today my co-pilot for the episode is Bob. Bob, come on in, introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background.
Jordan, first of all, thanks for having me. I've known you for a bit, so this should be a little fun. A little bit of my background: I played professional hockey in United States for 4 years, 4 years in Europe. After that, I jumped into there. It is right there. I jumped into the real estate game. This is back in 2004, so now you know how old I am. 2004 I started, and that turned into starting and running a couple different real estate education programs while I flipped properties, wholesaling, rehabbing, buying holds, etc. Fast forward 2014, I started my first virtual assistant company out of the Philippines. So that's what is that, 8 years ago today? And now we're at about 1,000 virtual assistants. And I also have a real estate investment company. Last year we did 166 transactions, buy, sell, fix, flip, buy, hold, etc. And now we're set to do, on my virtual assistant side, we're at about 1,000 VAs. On my real estate side, we're looking to do over 200 transactions. So that's just a little bit about me, and that's about it.
Fantastic. Well, and I'm excited. I definitely want to get another podcast organized where we can really dive into the virtual assistant company as well, because I think it's an enormously powerful thing for investors to know more about and understand how to best work with them. But also there's a huge technology component there as well. Mm-hmm. But for today, we're going to dive more into your journey in real estate in general and technology, because I think, I will say that, you and I have known each other for a couple of years now. I know that we've talked technology in the past. Mm-hmm. So if you think about your journey, which I'm not going to date you again, but it's a lengthy journey in the real estate business. How has technology kind of featured in that? How has it helped you? How has that journey been for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I know you and I have known each other for a while, but back in 2005, I actually started a couple software companies. I guess you could call them software companies, CRMs. One was called Finer Solution. And it was actually really, really good, but there's so much competition. I'm not a tech dude, just to be honest with you, but I knew that, it was a needed product in my business. And then 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus, we were focusing on short sales. So we started another company, and it was called managemyshortsale.com. And then it was how we actually managed all of our transactions. Really, really good product. We changed the name, rebranded it to Prop Tracker. Ended up selling it to one of my buddies, not for a lot of money. It was more on the tail end because he was using it in his business. So we ended up selling that out. But to answer your question, technology, it's the basis of what we do. You can, if I look at everything that we do, right? You have Google Sheets, you have Excel, you have all that kind of stuff. But when you hit a certain level in business, you need, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, you need technology, because you look at, I look at my real estate company. We use your service, obviously that's how you and I got together back in the day. But it ties to Podio, right? In the Podio system, all of our leads go into our Podio system. Obviously we tie technology, which is your smartphone, and all this is technology, but we tie smartphone to it. And this is how our acquisition guys, follow up once the leads get into our CRM. So, for me personally, the backing of what we do in real estate is tied to technology. Without technology, you're going to be behind all your competitors. And this is just my opinion. I know people could run, very slim, but going through the years without technology, you're kind of screwed.
Well, and also what I take from what you just said is that there's an element of scale involved where
Correct.
probably the switch to technology or the necessity of technology becomes almost a given, in that if you're really trying, and that's the premise of the show, is if you're trying to scale a business, starting a business is easy. Anybody can start. But actually scaling a business is not easy. And that's when technology comes into play. So how many people do you kind of, what's sort of the makeup of your real estate business right now? How many people are involved, roughly?
I mean, I have my virtual assistants, of course, that are cold calling, text messaging, right, following up. So I'm at like 8 to 10 of virtual assistants, maybe even more. I got to get a head count on that. We have about 15 people in our office here on the real estate side. That's acquisition. You have dispo, you have transaction coordinator, you have office manager, etc. So those are in our office, and everything ties to all the technology that we use, right? We use all of the stuff that we do on a daily basis. It gets chaotic if you don't have the right systems in place. And when I first started real estate, I didn't have anything. What I would do is I would door knock. I mean, first and foremost, the world is different now. If you don't have technology, you're screwed. Absolutely. Because back in the day when I first started, I literally get a list of pre-foreclosure properties, and I would go door to door to door, knocking on doors, and I'd have a leave behind packet. This is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then I would come home, and that same list, I would look online like 401.com or White Pages or whatever it was. I would try to find their phone numbers, and then I would dial till about 7:30 every single day, not besides the weekends. So, but it's a lot different.
Well, and I love that as well, because, I know this is a technology podcast, but one thing I've noticed is that, there are a lot of people who get into the game who are looking for the golden easy ticket, right? The no graft easy ticket. And I see this with systems all the time, because people are like, well, where's the CRM I can buy that's just going to do it? The magic Charlie.
Good luck. Good luck.
Well, and I love that, what you just said, because there's not a successful person in the world that I've ever met that doesn't have an element of graft that they've had to, you have to get your nose in and graft and grind it at some level just to get match fit enough to be able to perform at a certain level. And technology is not going to change that, but when you get to that level, you can then take off. So let me ask you, in terms of your systems, because people, a lot of my conversations recently have been focused on acquisitions. Everybody focuses on acquisitions, and I get it. You need leads. Like, I understand that, but leads aren't anything unless you close them, particularly if you're wholesaling. So how, like, do you use are you able to better deal with the transactions and dispo side of things in your systems as well? Because everybody focuses on acquisitions. Can you explain to me a bit about how it works at the dispo level, or how it influences you?
Yeah, so we, it's kind of interesting. We do, we wholesale on the MLS, novations. There's different kind of names for a lot of the disposition that we do. So what happens when it comes into our acquisition team, it comes in obviously to our Podio system, and then our acquisition team works directly with our dispo. So once we get a property under contract, it goes right to our dispo team, and our dispo team then it transfers over to them. Then they get on the phone with the seller to then educate the seller on how they're going to be working with them hand in hand. They're going to hold their hand through the process. At the same time, once they do that, they build rapport with the seller. Then they're hammering the phones, right? We use a lot of different technology. Investor Lift is one of them. Is one of the technology that we actually use to help dispo. We use the MLS as well, and we also have. There's nothing better than picking up the phone. For human beings actually calling person to person to person, like you said, individuals. We need the tools to be able to blast it out all over the place. But there is a human element that is very important in our business that a lot of people are like, well, I'm scared to get on the phone. Well, hire a virtual assistant to do it. My point is there's an answer for everything. Use technology to blast it out to the world, but you still have to pick up the phone and talk to a human being to be able to sell these properties. So we do a very good job once it's inside our systems to then follow up through the process.
And presumably then a key part of a system that goes through that whole process is the visibility of what everybody's doing at every stage. Because that's always been my argument against using Excel. Excel's fine if it's you on your own trying to close a few deals. If that's where you're at, get a fucking mobile burner phone and an Excel spreadsheet and have at it. But when you've got a team of people working through that process, visibility has got to be key. Which parts of, like, what have you found are your biggest kind of key visibility points in your systems?
It's actually, a lot of it is phone work, right? Because a lot of stuff what we do, we have, phone numbers that tie to that system, right? So then when we have our acquisition guys are calling, we want to know how many dials they're doing a day, what's their talk time, et cetera, et cetera. So if you don't have those, same on the dispo, it's the same exact thing. If you don't have those metrics, then as a business owner, you're catching your tail. You have no idea, because think about this: business owners, we're spending a shit ton of money, right, on marketing, on office space, on blah 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 blah, whatever that is. And you've talked to many different entrepreneurs, and when you get a market that is, it's kind of, you don't know if it's going to go where it's going to go, right? You have to look at every penny that comes into your office and every penny that goes out. So I think it's very, very important to keep those metrics right in front of you. We have a metric screen, with through Podio, obviously, that ties to smartphone as well, that keeps all of these statistics for us. So then we look at those every single day. So then we can review them with the team. Say, hey, Joey, you did great today. What happened yesterday? Blah, blah, blah. So then what you do is you hold each other accountable, because as a company owner, you have to, no matter what, always invest, meaning driving leads, technology, people, office space, etc. That never stops. So if you don't have the metrics in the end, how are you going to be able to track anything?
And where are you going to know to spend your money next?
Correct.
In an intelligent.
Yeah, if you have a marketing, think about that. If you have a marketing channel that you're just cold calling, how are you going to know how many leads came in, right? Or if you're just text messaging, where you want to open up a new market, you don't know any of this unless you have metrics to back that, to where you're going to spend your money or invest your money, however you want to say it.
Absolutely. Now, I have a sort of specific question I think you'll be best placed to answer, actually, around, because I know that cold calling is one of the methods that you use. Yep. And I think that a lot of people get scared of cold calling for two reasons. One, if they have to do it themselves and they're terrified of making the phone calls, right? And let's be honest, none of us really like cold call. Like there are some people who love it, I guess, but it's not me. But the concern I see is, they get to the point where they want to invest in a VA to do this, and they're worried about quality assurance. They're worried, like, how are they going to train this VA? How are they going to make sure that things happen, et cetera? Now, you're in a unique position, because not only do you have a real estate business that is thriving and doing a lot of deals every year, but of course you also have a VA business that has a huge focus on real estate, not only, but a large one. How do you leverage technology to ensure that the quality of the VAs you're using in your own business, and that you have a wider point of view? How do you do that? Because I think people get scared of investing in VA because they're worried about how are these people going to perform.
See, here's what I look at. Here's how I best answer that question. At the beginning of the day, let's use the example of cold calling, right? At the beginning of the day, nobody's calling, right? Meaning they wake up, the phone's not ringing, it's 8 a.m. Of course, you're not going to cold call 8 a.m. We start at 9 a.m, and by the time the end of the day comes, they send us an end of day report. How many dials do they make? How many leads do they send, etc. Right? And you made a good point. Cold calling sucks. I'll be honest with you. It's awful. So if anyone's listening to this call, but it's a necessary evil. This is why virtual assistants are fantastic. But here's a big miss that a lot of people don't understand. We, as business owners, don't have to do that initial cold call. What you want is that individual that raises their hand and says, yes, I want more information, or yes, I'm potentially willing to sell, blah, blah, blah. That then will go to you, me, our acquisition team, etc. That's already been, in essence, pre-screened. So there's no reason for us to sit on the phone all day long and just get beat up. No. That's a great task for someone else to do, right? You get through all of that other crap. It gets to your plate. It's already dusted off. It's shined up, right? You already have the suntan lotion on it, right?
It's teed up, and you just have to be able to take the swing.
Correct. So this is another thing of of what you should do as business owners is you should invest in your acquisition team, in your sales, right? And sales skills and et cetera, right? Because it's really, really important. The technology takes you here, but then the non-technology will be investing in your sales team and understanding sales strategies. A lot of people don't put that piece in there, and it's very, very important.
And invest in yourself. If you're going to be the
Correct.
Closer, invest in
Correct.
your own training, because you can always learn better techniques, better ways of listening, active questioning. There's always ways you can improve your performance. And if you're going to be the person who's closing, invest in your own education around that.
And to add to that too, obviously this is a technology podcast. The technology is recording the calls, right? So now you take all the best calls that are in your office, even if you did them. Think about this. When you have a killer sales call, how great is it to go back later on, put them in, just use, whatever your technology, you record a call, you put it up into a folder, you go back and you can rate them, and you go back and listen to them, because think about this. There's some calls that are fantastic, some calls that we do that are not as good. So it's always good to get back into that frame of mind when you have all those recorded calls to retrain yourself or retrain your guys. We have, I don't know how many salespeople we have here, but they're all our salespeople are different types of personalities. So you could take one great thing from one great from another, then make it your own.
And that's actually a good point in terms of, if people are looking to if people are stepping up their technology, make sure you're getting systems that allow you to do things like record, allow you to do
Correct.
things like call monitoring live. If you got a new agent that you're listening in live so that you can make sure that you're coaching them properly, those are tools that will help facilitate the development of your people. And that's half of the technology game.
Yep. Great point.
Let me ask you a question about, in terms of the sort of, I suppose, one area that I've seen people get worried about around the CRM system is the getting so many leads in that you're starting to lose track, that you're, there's only so many things you can do at once. Do you guys have you guys got a methodology for ensuring that as new things drop into the top of the funnel, you're not leaving behind money on the table by just ignoring them?
So that is actually very good point there, because, people don't understand this. All the leads pile up on top of each other, right? And they forget this. So they go down, 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 down. The most important, where you make your money is in follow-up. I think the average touch point to get a contract is like 7 to 12 touches, right? So that means you're screwing yourself, you're screwing your company if you don't have the right technology to be able to follow up. So what we do is we make a call, we put a follow-up status. We make a call, we put a follow-up status. So then when you come in the next day, whatever that follow-up status is, you got to call those numbers. So that's what we do to be able to identify that. It was funny because that was one of the most important things for back in the day when I managed my short sale, because we were talking to banks. So every time I would call a bank, right, a loss mitigator, I'd call a bank, I would have to know, hey, Jim, when's the next time I follow up? Well, follow up next week on, blah, blah, this is when I'm in the office. So if we didn't have that type of technology, I would have been screwed. I wouldn't have been closed any type of deal at all, because you're dealing with all these different banks that have different processes, et cetera, right? Different numbers they get there. If I didn't update my notes and put that exact phone number in, I'd be catching my tail waiting on hold for another hour, right? So I think that's the most important part there, to your point, is getting that technology once you make that call, and then putting a follow-up date in that technology, because if you don't do that, you're going to be screwed.
I also find, as a business owner myself, particularly, we've got about 40 staff at this point. So, once you scale to a certain level, there's so much going on that if you don't have a system that is managing, that is outside of your head and giving you a view of things, you keep it in your head and you never sleep because you're constantly, you're just constantly churning over. God, I forgot, I need to do this. I need to do this. I think there's really, there's a hidden value of having a good system, which is to take things out of people's heads, whether it's your own or your staff, and making sure it's black and white and transparent to everybody. Because what happens if, I get hit by a bus tomorrow and I was working on 5 things internally? Well, that's no good for anybody, right? I mean, that's a part of this.
I mean, think about this. Add on, forget business for a second. You have kids, they have sports, they have, there's apps for everything. I got a Team Snap app that has my 3 kids' schedules in it, right? Meaning they all play ice hockey. So I have to go there all the time and say, all right, I know I practice every Tuesday, Thursday, but what about the game schedule on the weekend? I got to run around. Sometimes I have to they have 3 games each, right? I got 9 games I got to get to. So you have to know exactly where everything is in the process. And that's just on the personal side for one sport. The kid plays 2 sports, you throw in business in there. Now, to your point, if you don't have that technology behind you, you're going to be forgetting stuff. People are going to be pissed off at you. You're going to miss deadlines. You're going to leave money on the table, all the 9 yards.
Absolutely. And I think it's probably a question. Everything comes down to a question of scale. If you've got enough going on, then systems are a critical part of your life and your business. If you don't, you may be able to get away with a pen and paper for a little while, right?
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, if you're a solopreneur, you could but you're not going to scale. You're not going to get bigger. You're going to be stuck at whatever. Hey, if you want to do 1 deal a month, guess what? You could do it without technology, right? Fantastic, right? You can do that. But if, just like to your point, if you're going to build a team, if you want to replace yourself, and in the end, think about this as a business owner, why do you start a business, right? To replace yourself, have it run, you're helping growing, you're employing people, you're hiring people, you're giving back to the community, all that kind of stuff. But you can't do it if you're stuck inside your business. You're only limited to so much.
Absolutely. Well, one final question before I get into the fast 5 questions is around data and cleansing data. So one of the things that I see, one of the problems I've always felt are, when people stack up loads of leads, don't do anything with them and still call them leads, in which case what you've got is great, great, you've got thousands of leads, but the truth is you've got 20 leads and the 1,800 of them are shit. So what, how have you, how important, or has it ever been a problem, or do you ever think about the sort of the quality of data in your system, and how do you address it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because, leads and records are 2 different things. So the only thing that you should ever put in your CRM is a true lead. I'll give you an example, right? So if let's say you're doing cold calling, text messaging, and direct mail. That list that you have, those are records. Do not throw those records in your CRM. The only time you throw anything in your CRM is when, as soon as someone raises their hand that says they want to sell, boom, that goes in your CRM. This channel, same exact thing. So there's and that's a great question, because there is a misconception, because everyone's like, so do I throw all these records in my CRM? I'm like, no, don't do that, because you'll have all dirty data. Nothing's gonna be clean. You can't track it and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people that start at the beginning do make that mistake. It's only a record. You pull a list of 50,000 names. Those are records. Those are not leads yet.
I 100% agree. It's been one of my bugbears for a long time. If you keep your data clean in your CRM, you will have true visibility. You let it get dirty and you might as well just, because you're not actually going to know anything.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Well, let's close this podcast out with the fast 5, and then I'm going to get you to make sure you let people know how they can find you. These are 5 questions I ask all the investors on the podcast. I love to compare the answers over time. So question number 1, what technology product has had the biggest impact on your real estate business?
My real estate business, I will say, obviously we have our Podio system, we have our smartphone, we also have Investor Lift. I'd say those 3 right there. We use PropStream as well, which gives us our data. So I'm just going to I'll give you 4 of them right there.
Okay, fair enough. Question number 2, what is the biggest mistake you've made with technology in your real estate business?
You know what? When you actually start, it's finding the right one. I mean, we've spent so much money, and literally so much money, and then we changed CRMs. We got sold into another one. It's really finding the right developers to actually help you with your systems, because there's shiny objects all day long. Oh, this could do this. It could, just like you said, it's like, oh, they could run your business by yourself. That's all bullshit, right? It's all bullshit. What you do is you work with somebody that that has a system that you like. So for me, like a referral business is really important, right? And then they'll give you, that's how we met you, right? We met you through, our buddies from Podio. Great. Hey, we met each other. The product is phenomenal, etc. So that's how, for me, it would be, get a referral on that side of it, and then go from there.
Absolutely. Question number 3, what is your best advice on how to start integrating technology into a real estate business if I'm just starting out?
I'm just starting out. I would actually get that referral, and then I would implement it. So whatever that technology is, you have to use it, because technology is worth shit if you don't use it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So, think about this. There's a lot of technology companies that a lot of people don't use their product, and they just ding them every month, ding them, but they don't use it. If you don't use it, you're not going to make money with it. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. Question number 4, what is the one thing you wish you'd known when you first started your real estate business in terms of technology?
In terms of technology, what I would have done is I would have started using and building my buyers list right away and putting it into a CRM, because there's a lot of wasted money. You come home from an event, you have all these business cards, and back in the day, this is more back in the days, is putting those business. That's exactly right. Yeah, is putting them into a CRM and actually using the CRM to blast out deals. That's one of the things that I made a mistake on at the beginning.
And I think it's really, I'm going to have a couple more podcasts devoted to buyer technology and ways of, because I think, buyers are the critical step people miss all the time. Because if you're not closing your deals, you're not making any money.
Yeah, exactly. You should have my buddy who owns Investor Lift on.
I'd love to. Yeah, I'll fly and maybe drop me an email.
Perfect. Yep.
Final question, which I think you kind of answered in question 1. So I'll let you off on this one, but I'll say it anyway. If someone was just starting out, what are 3 technology products you'd recommend? I'm going to guess CRM, Investor List, and a phone system.
That's right. And a way to get data, right? Obviously, a way to get data wherever you're going to get that data. Like PropStream is a great one to get data in. I'm sure you have a bunch of them as well.
Well, and I mean, I've always said, I think, I've touched on this a couple of times. Everything is about a journey. If you're just starting, getting one list and cold calling it is a very fair first step. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go from 0 to 100. You can step your way up. And I think that's something that more and more people have to understand.
Yeah. And then let me add to that too. I mean, one of the technologies I forgot to say that is a big part of our business is a text messaging platform called Launch Control for us in our real estate business. I have a ton of VAs that actually use it, a ton of clients that actually use it. It works very, very well. Just to add that, I forgot to add it because there's so much technology that we use.
I'm recording with Launch Control.
Okay, perfect.
On Thursday, today's Tuesday when we're recording this. Literally in 2 days, I'm recording a podcast with Launch Control.
Is that who's doing it? Is it Aaron?
I think it's Michael.
Oh, Michael. Yeah. He's a good dude. Great dude.
So there's a plug for the upcoming podcast.
That's how that works, though. It's how it works. No, so much technology, and I do a ton of work with Launch Control, and I'll definitely give them a huge shout out as well. So I would actually change one of my answers and say that is one of the top technologies that I use. Got a lot of stuff going on here, and a lot of technology. So,
well, the good news is they're going to be on the podcast in a few episodes. So everybody get it. If you're listening now, stay listening and subscribe. That's a good reason to subscribe to the goddamn podcast. Anyway, Bob, it's been fantastic catching up with you again. Listen, just before we sign off, let people know how they could find you, how they can find your VA business. Give a shout out to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach out to us. We're all over online. REVA Global, REVA Global.com. You can send me an email, bob@REVA Global, REVA Global.com. We also have a medical division side of it on the virtual assistant side as well that does prior insurance verifications, prior authorizations, et cetera. So check us out online. You can reach me anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, et cetera.
And I'll make sure to pop those links into the podcast web page as well, so that it's an easy click through for everybody.
Perfect. Awesome.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much. And everybody, please make sure you subscribe, do all the things you're supposed to do, and check out Bob's service at REVA Global.
Thanks for listening to another amazing episode of That Real Estate Tech Guy. Head over to thatrealeestatetechguy.com to check out all episodes and get special discounts on tons of awesome real estate technology platforms.